Plus Talk. Plus Talk is pretty much a podcast from me where I talk about my experiences with games and just my opinions overall. It's a low-key, non-scripted type of podcast. I hope you enjoy what I have to say. And today we are actually talking about something that is happening right now, and that is, of course, the new console launches later this year, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. That will be discussed at the end of the video, at the end of the podcast. Before I want to discuss that, I would like to discuss the other console launches I actively experienced in the past. Now, I'm only 20 years old, so that isn't the oldest consoles that I've experienced. So I decided to begin with the Game Boy Advance, PlayStation 2, and the original Xbox. And let's start at the GBA. Well, the GBA, I live in Europe, was released around in the beginning of 2000, and I was still young back then. And I remember that my brother had a GBA Advance with Super Mario World, I believe. And suffice to say, I was jealous. I wanted to have one too. Before that, I always played on the GBA Advance of my brother. I played, just like I said, Super Mario World, but I didn't come far in that game. I also played Super Mario Kart, better at that game. But I don't know if I finished any of those games. Really, I was quite young, so I don't know if I had skill to really be that, skillful to complete it. I can't remember if I finished Super Mario World, but I have here a basket for me with all my GBA games. I still have them. Well, let's just say the quality isn't the strongest suit of my GBA game choices. I had Dora the Explorer, which was weird because Dora the Explorer was an American game, I see here, but in the English version, Dora is English, but she teaches Spanish. But in Dutch, Dora the Explorer, she is Dutch, but she teaches English. So it was a little bit strange. Yeah, and I had many animal games, Pokemon games too. The Pokemon games were the best games of the GBA. I have played many hours of them, started them over and over again. Great memories overall. I also had a lot of movie time games. There was really a period, I think, in this gen, GBA, PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox, where movies and kid shows got a game adaptation. I think in the next generation they had that too, but the PlayStation 4, Xbox One generation didn't really have that. And is it a loss? Not really. The quality of those games weren't really good most of the time. But as a kid, they are enjoyable. I got a lot of them. Madagascar, the Penguins of Madagascar, the movie with the zoo and a lion. Great fun, great fun. But yeah, I got GBX SP later down the line. Fantastic little console. The bright screen, finally, that you don't have to sit super close to your GBA to actually see something, was a great addition. A little bit late of Nintendo added just with the GBA SP and not with the original GBA. And yeah, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon was a game I played a lot. And yeah, with the GBA it was really, I didn't really experience the launch per se, but more the beginning years and of course the after years. The GBA didn't have such a long lifespan because the DS came out just a couple of years later to compete with the PlayStation Portable. Now, the PlayStation 2, I never really had a PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 2 in my household was from my brother. Um, I remember the time he got it, it was a PlayStation 2 Slim, so the smaller version, not the big PlayStation 2. So it wasn't really the launch. It was a couple of years later of the PlayStation 2. And my brother had a lot of PlayStation 2 games. Really a lot. And sometimes I got to play with them. And many times I needed to watch all the younger brothers out there know how that feels. To watch your big brother play the games instead of you playing the games. What if I have to think about what are the games? Well, one thing, if I got to play a game when my brother was in school, for instance, um, it was always a little bit scary. And I think some of you know where I'm going with this. It's mainly if you put it in disk to start a game on the PlayStation 2, and it has an error, it will go to this bright red screen with eerie music in the background, and as a kid that was quite scary, frightening. I don't know why, just unsettling, not something you associate with a gaming console, I think. I remember that I'm putting in a game to play, and I would hide my face um, in the bed, just with my face pressing against the blanket, with my hands in my ears, so that I didn't have to hear the error screen. Um, Not that it really helped, of course, because even if it had an error screen, you had to press the X button to go back to the menu, so you had to see it nonetheless. But it was mostly the beginning of that animation that was the most scary part for me. Well, if we look at the games of the PlayStation 2, the one what springs up in my mind is Jack and Dexter 3. Not 1 and 2, my brother didn't have the game, but 3. It was an amazing game to look at, very intriguing, very big with the city and the outskirts, the big open desert with the cars. That was as a kid very interesting to look at. I got to play too, but I didn't dare to venture out of the big city. So I was mainly in sitting, driving around in those flying scooters, flying cars, and just shooting some guards that were spawned around the city. I never went to the outskirts. So yes, sometimes when I felt a little daring, but mostly not. I was quite a scared kid, now that I'm remembering it. Or I just didn't want to progress the story while my brother was playing the game. So I did. I I wanted to do the side stuff and not the main stuff, so that my brother can experience the main story. My brother did actually finish that game. Well, it was English. The text was English, but I guess the UI was Dutch, so we could understand bits of it, but I think the main story wasn't subtitled, or at least we didn't have the subtitles on. So there was English, and we really didn't understand it. That are the struggles of living in a European country that are not the big five. The games are mostly in English, and as a young child, that can be frustrating because you don't understand the story that much. Same happened with the GBA, by the way, with the Pokemon games. I have quite an interesting anecdote of that. In Pokemon Sapphire or in Pokemon Emerald, you had to go to the villain layer of Team Aqua or Team Magma, the evil team in the games. And well, me, my brother, my neighbor, who was playing the game also, didn't know where to go. We didn't know where to go. We were walking around. We couldn't find it. I believe it was Pokemon Emerald. But eventually, one character, I don't know, I don't believe it was really a character that had anything to do with the story. But the NPC said something about a boss. Blah 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 boss. Well, we all know boss in English means pretty much the leader, the leader of a team. In this case, an evil team. But in my young 6-year-old mind, the Dutch mind, it went bos. Bos. In the game it was written with 2 S's, but in Dutch, bos with 1 S means forest. So I was thinking, where is there a forest in the game? Well, if you know Hoenn, the region Pokemon Sapphire, Emerald and Ruby takes place in, you know that the forest is mostly in the northeast, with all the tree houses and such. But my mind didn't really go there. My mind went to the volcano. When you're up on the volcano and you are traveling to the city with the hot spring, there's a little area with trees and ash on the ground, and my mind went there. And when I was visiting there, I finally found the cave of the evil team. And I must say, I felt quite smart around that time. Because, I mean, I was the youngest. I fixed the problem by reading. Not that the NPC really said what I think he said, but it worked, and that is what was the most important part. About the PlayStation 2, yeah, further. Yeah, there are lots of other anecdotes I think I can tell, but they're mostly watching, so they aren't really that interesting. One thing that's pretty much applies to all these generations, and even before the PlayStation 2 generation, was of course, you thought this was very realistic. The graphics were realistic, couldn't get any better. But what do you know? They will get better. And even the Xbox. The Xbox, in comparison to the PlayStation 2, in comparison to the GameCube, and especially PlayStation 2, was a more powerful console. Now, we didn't really have the games that really showed the power difference. Splinter Cell is an example of a game that really shines on the Xbox and is watered down on the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube. So no, that that is not something I realized till much later, that the Xbox was more powerful. What we did do, you need to understand, the PlayStation 2 was for my brother, and the Xbox was for my dad. My dad was around the time an avid gamer, mainly shooters, actually. So the Call of Duties, this time too, the Brother in Arms. The Brother in Arms were fantastic games. A whole new other concept. As a kid, I loved how you can press a button and see the map from above. In Brother in Arms, you can see the map from above. You see your squad. You see the known enemy squads where they sit, and you need to plan a little bit from where you want to go and where you want to flank and attack the enemy. That was something I loved. And the story seemed intriguing too. And for what I know about it, it was quite intriguing. The Xbox was really the game console we used to play together. We had one Xbox controller, but we had an adapter. I didn't know how my mother got a hand of it, but we got an adapter to plug in a PlayStation 2 controller. And on the other side of the adapter, you had two plugs. You had the GameCube plug and you had the Xbox plug. So you could play Xbox games with a PlayStation 2 controller, or you could play GameCube games with a PlayStation 2 controller. Well, we used that to play together on the Xbox because we didn't have a second Xbox controller. I don't know why. What other games we played? We played James Bond 007 Nightfire. Nightfire was if you look around the internet, you can see that many people have fond memories of playing the GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64 with each other. Well, my experience with that is 007 Nightfire. Amazing game all around. My family is a big fan of James Bond, so playing a good James Bond game was amazing. You had so many characters to choose from. The maps you can play in were fantastic. You can activate bots. So when my neighbor and my brother went around, I could play the multiplayer mode alone with bots. I did that a lot too. That is not something I will do today, but as a kid I did that. And also here, I was the MVP in the house because I was the first member of the family that actually finished 007 Nightfire. Which wasn't as easy as a task as it seems, because especially in the later parts of the game, you had to decrypt stuff. The enemies were becoming a lot harder, and that's also one of the reasons why my dad never finished it, and why my brother didn't finish it for a long time. So I finished Nightfire. It ended in space battle, and I remember when I finished it, I went downstairs and was so happy to tell them that I was the one that finished it first, and that you need to finish it now too. My brother eventually did. I don't believe that my dad finished the game. He did finish Brothers in Arms though. There were also other games. There was another game, I think it was called Desert Storm. Quite an ugly game, even for its time. But Desert Storm was a military game, also in a squad, where in the Middle East. I believe it was about the Gulf War, and you were playing as an American or a British team, army, and you actually were spawned in an area on a map, and the map was quite huge. It was quite open, and you could decide for yourself where you want to go. You could open a map, and on the right side there were all these objectives you needed to do, and that was the only thing that was given to you. For the rest, you could decide where you want to go, when you want to go. So it was a fairly open game. But for a family that didn't really could read English, it was also a very difficult game. But my dad plowed through and eventually came close to the end, or did finish the game. He did it alone, controlled 4 squad members. But the nicest thing and the funnest thing I remember about it, and I don't really see replicated in games from then on out. I haven't really seen such a thing in games from then on. It was that you could play the game in co-op. You could play the game in co-op, and for most of the game that works as you expect. You will both play as one of the team members, and 2 of the team members are played by a CPU. You can switch between them, but that's fairly basic. You do the objectives and that's that. But in the beginning, in the first mission of the game, there was a special mission. Because throughout the game you are actually collecting your squad. So you begin with 1. In the first mission you can choose second agent, second soldier, third, fourth. But you could start the game in co-op. But the first mission is with 1 soldier. So player 1 would start the game as the soldier, but the screen would be split. The second, the right side of the screen would be for player 2. But the soldier that player 2 played was in prison. And I don't know, I found it a really great concept, because if you play it alone, you play as 1 soldier, you're going to this prison to free this other soldier, and you do another objective by exploding a bridge, I believe, and then you are being extracted from the mission because you're done. Well, in multiplayer, it was player 1 is doing that, is freeing the prisoner, but player 2 is the prisoner. So you need to wait for player 1 to free you. And I don't know, I found it now and back then especially very awesome to see that my dad or my brother was on the other side of the map, defeating enemies, and I am here imprisoned, waiting for them to find me, with the CPU also walking around. Yeah, that was very awesome. Very awesome. I don't believe they ever made other Desert Storm games. At least I didn't play them. Now, another thing to close off the Xbox segment and this generational segment of the podcast is Metal Gear Solid. My brother is a big Metal Gear Solid fan, and it all began with Metal Gear Solid 2. He played it on the Xbox, the PlayStation 2, but for whatever reason he played it on the Xbox. My brother played it a lot. The ship, the beginning on the ship, he could manage. He could do that. I would watch him play. But the big shell, most of the game happens on the big shell. That is the big orange sea base. And as me, as just a spectator of the game, it was quite a slog. It was boring to see my brother walking around the same environment time and again. And from my perspective, he didn't really proceed, and I know he did. Now I know he did, but what hit me, he didn't really proceed that much. For me, he was just walking around the same areas time and again, and in that game, the enemies respawn. So he was fighting the whole day. He was fighting the same enemies the whole day long. So it became quite boring. Um, in my memories, it took years, but I think it only took a couple of months in reality. But eventually he came further. He came to the end. He came to the part that Waden need to walk around naked to a military base, and he came close to finishing it. He was at the end battle with Solid Snake, I believe, and then disaster struck around that time. I don't know what happened. The save file got corrupted, or it was deleted or something. But you had to start all over again. So this all the month you played that game were for nothing. You need to do it all again, and for whatever reason, I was there watching it too. To this day, I haven't played Metal Gear Solid 2 myself because looking at that game, the memories bring back about a boring game that I didn't want to relive again. And I really think that is so unfair to the game, because that's just the association I have with the game. Sad, but it is so. It is so. Yeah, and one last thing, with the Xbox you could import your own music. Um, I didn't know how I did that, but we had Forza, and you could play your own music in Forza. While driving, you could play your own music, and I played Pokemon music in the background because, of course, I did. And I believe you just put in a disc in the Xbox, and you could read the music of it and save it on your Xbox. I believe. I don't know if it worked that way, but we got music from a CD into a game, one way or another. So we managed to do that. So I just played Forza with Pokemon music on the background. It was from my album to be a Pokemon Master. Literally written as to the letter B, the letter A, Pokemon Master. Great music on that. Yeah, let's proceed to the Wii, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Well, the Wii was the first home console I owned myself. I wanted a Wii. Of course, the Wii was sold out for many months around launch. But eventually I got one for my birthday, a black one, with Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, I believe. And I don't know, the Wii, even if it was my first console, I don't have that much memories about it. I mean, I had fun with it, but not that much fun, I think. Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort, I played alone, but also with my father and with my mother, especially with my father golf. We would do that. That is also the only time since then that we played really together. Since that we really played together. So in that sense, I have great memories about the Wii, but with the games, I didn't really had a lot of Wii games. I still have a couple, but not much. Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort are a couple of them. I had Mario Kart Wii. For its time, very fun. Now I think it's the worst Mario Kart game there is. No, well, aside from Super Mario Kart and Mario Kart Super Circuit on the GBA. But those are on much weaker hardware, so there's an excuse for that. Mario Sonic on the Olympic Games in London 2012. I played that game a lot. That game was fantastic. I don't care what anybody says. For a minigame collection, that was an awesome minigame collection. And I also thought that game was very pretty for a Wii game. Furthermore, Pokepark Wii, the first Pokepark, was quite boring. I never finished it, I believe. But as a Pokemon fan, I had to had it. Super Mario Strikers. Yeah, Super Mario Strikers was difficult. I never really finished all of the cups, but that's such a fun game. Played a lot with my brother too. Super Mario Galaxy, never finished it too. Although I really did enjoy it. I don't know why I didn't finish it. The thing is with the Wii era for me, I didn't have a TV in my own room. So the Wii was downstairs on the main TV. But my parents were avid TV watchers. So I couldn't really play it a lot of I couldn't really play a lot of it. That was mainly the problem. And still right now it's still downstairs. My mother used it for Wii Fit, for Zumba, for Just Dance. Or should I say used it, because I don't believe she has touched the Wii in a year. Last year she still did though. So I didn't really had a lot of Wii games. And not really a fun anecdote about it. And in my experience, yeah, I did have one. Um, in primary school, you you would have in the morning class, then 1 hour of lunchtime, and then in the afternoon class. Well, in the lunchtime in the afternoon, we would go to our home to eat there, to drink there, and then go back to school. But right around that time, in the time, I would go to my cousin. My cousin was in the same class as me, and we would play Super Smash Bros. Ball, the Subspace Emissary mode together. Fun memories. I played, I think, almost all of the Subspace Emissary around that time with my cousin, and later after that, I bought the game for myself with my own money. It was quite a big thing, about quite quite a big deal for me. I bought Super Mario Galaxy and Super Smash Bros. Brawl with my own money. I think for the first time. Hmm. I was becoming more mature, you could say. Um, Now the PlayStation 3, my brother, no surprise, got the PlayStation 3. First, he had a launch model, and I really don't know if it was the less expensive or the more expensive version. I would think it was the less expensive version. And remembering about that, he couldn't get his hands on it for a long time. Eventually, he got his hands on it, and with the games played, around that time, around the PlayStation 3 time, I became a little bit older, so I would watch a lot less of my brother playing games. That's why I don't really have much memory about my brother playing games on the PlayStation 3. There are a couple of things I do still remember though, and that were the PlayStation Home, um, the PSN network hack, and Metal Gear Solid 4. I'm very fast to think about other things. I don't believe so, so let's keep it at those three. Well, PlayStation Home. Well, I think I need to start with the PlayStation hack then. My family didn't have internet for a long time. I think we got around to having it around 2011, 2012, very late. So we never played online, pretty much. I, at the end of the PlayStation 3, we and Xbox 360 life cycle, we would have internet, but for a long time not. So when news broke out that the servers were hacked, we were looking at it quite surprised, and we didn't really know what to think about it. It was very serious. That was clear from the news report. That's all account information was lost and such. But looking back at it, we were very happy that we didn't have internet, because otherwise the information of my brother was stolen. Yeah, well, then PlayStation Home came, and it was around the time we actually did got internet. I was more of a fan of PlayStation Home than my brother, and my brother around the time also got a PlayStation 3 Slim, so I could have the old PlayStation. I remember that I didn't like it, the black color of it, so I painted the shell gray or something, gray and black. Quite ugly, but it was at least something different, and I could finally play my own PlayStation 3 games. I mainly played PlayStation Home in the beginning. Um, I even spent money on PlayStation. I thought it was great that you could create your own character, your own character with your own clothes, with your own house too. Um, and the worlds of PlayStation Home that were based on different games was also something I enjoyed a lot. Most of the games I have never heard about, I had never heard about, and never played it, but they looked cool. There was I remember a racing game, kind of F-Zero Wipeout kind of game that I played a lot of. You could progress in um, how fast your vehicle was going. It was a kind of big of a time trial. Yeah, furthermore, uh, there was this city building game, tycoon game, and that was the part I spent money on, because you could plan out a city, think about city tycoon, city skylines, and so you could plan the city. But after that, you could walk in first person with your own character in third person around your city, and found that awesome. So I spent money on coins to buy more buildings, I believe, and to unlock more features. That was the first time I paid for microtransactions, I believe. That I had them such a long time ago already. Eventually it shut down. Um, Well, eventually, the old PlayStation 3 died, so I bought my own super slim one, the one with the movable disc cover, and it had Quantum Ritmo with it and Uncharted 3. Well, I first played Forza Gran Turismo, but my God, the loading times were so long. It was a chore to play, not fun. So I never touched it again after that. Uncharted 3, however, was amazing. I I played it a lot of times. You could play it in Dutch. The Dutch localization was actually very good, and yeah, great memories about that. The it was, I think, one of the first times I played a third-person action game. Before that, I played Wii games, but also first-person shooters, but never the third-person kind. That was the first time. It was a real revelation for me. I think I prefer them now to first-person games. Um, yeah, that we did co-op with voice chat with Ghost Recon Future Soldier, the main campaign. Also very fun. Um, yeah, and with the 360, but that was really the last console that my dad had. Um, he still has it, but he doesn't use it anymore. Um, games became quite complex. Luckily for my dad, his favorite genre, favorite kind of games were first-person shooters, and those were relatively simple still then. The Call of Duties, mainly the Call of Duties, actually, were still just follow the mark on your screen and shoot all the bad guys that you come across. And that's something my father did. Sometimes it went easier than others. Um, a lot of time I had to help my dad with certain parts of games, opening doors, hacking into stuff or something. The problem is those games are all in English. And my dad can't read English or can't understand English. So when games became more complex, it was more difficult for him to play those games. And I believe that is the reason why my dad never bought an Xbox One. Doesn't use PlayStation 4 that my brother gave him to him. And that he is recently an owner of a mobile phone. He never had a mobile phone till around 2 years ago or something. And now he just watches YouTube and play small mobile games on there. So what you see a lot is that the older people go from mobile web-based games to more serious, in quotes, games on consoles. But for my dad, it went in reverse from the console games to mobile games. So yeah, my memory of the Xbox 360 were mainly that. Of course, also the red wing of that. My dad had an Xbox 360 around launch, and also our Xbox 360 was hit with the red wing of that, and we didn't know what it was. Like I said a minute ago, we didn't have internet, so we weren't. We were. Yeah, we didn't know that the red wing of that was a problem that a lot of people had. So for us, it wasn't really such a big scandal, you could say. It was just, oh, our console broke, so we need a new one. And that we did. We got a new one, and that one is still working today. I'm thinking about if I still know other things to say about the Xbox 360. Yeah, one thing I absolutely loved about it was the avatar creation. The avatar creation was something I really enjoyed. Um, the ever-changing UIs was something to get used about. Something to get used to. Because at the end of the lifespan of this generation, we got internet. You could play online finally, and on the Wii and on PlayStation 3, it was free, but on the Xbox 360, it was paid, and that's why we never really played Xbox 360 games online because we didn't want to pay for it, or at least my parents didn't want to pay for it. So the online gaming was more for the PlayStation 3 and even the Wii, Mario Kart, 007 GoldenEye, also online on the Wii. The servers are still online for that, by the way. Or PlayStation 3, mainly Uncharted, Battlefield 4. There's nothing. Mainly those two games. So, and yeah, why is the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One not on your list? Well, quite frankly, I remember uh, I don't remember a lot of that, that period. I remember more of the GBA and the Wii period than of the PlayStation 4 Xbox One period. And that's weird because around that time we finally got internet. So you would think that we know that I would know more about that launch period. Now the PlayStation 4 was something my brother wanted to had again difficulties with getting one, but he finally got one. I think with Killzone Shadowfall. And it was rather uneventful. The Wii U, same thing. Now I do remember that I came across a trailer of the Wii U, and I was like, "Look at that! Look at that parrot that you can look up in your tablet and swipe to your TV to show your family." Yeah, quite a useless feature, to be honest. But no, other than that, I don't really have vivid memories of them. Same with the 3DS, same with the PS Vita. 3DS was something my classmate, a friend of me had, and when Pokemon Black and White came out, I played it on my DS, and he was 3DS. But I really didn't saw a desire, a need to buy them until later. Well, I never got a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, but I did got a Wii U, 3DS, and Vita. Why didn't I got a PS1, a PS4 or Xbox One? Mainly because in 2017 I got a PC, a gaming PC, so I didn't really need it anymore. And by the time I really only played Minecraft, I think, on my little school laptop with 20 FPS. Quite a struggle, but fun, but fun. Yeah, the only thing really noteworthy about that is there is this uh, chain of game stores in the Benelux, Game Mania, and they are the GameStop of this region, and they were opening a new store in my area. So we went to there. It was a big celebration with sales on on many games. Many people were there, but there was also uh, uh, a machine to grab plushies, and if you succeeded to grab a plushie, you would get a free console. Now, me, I was around 12, 13 years old, maybe 14, went to there, um, played that machine to grab a plushie with a claw, and managed to pick up a Luigi plushie. Well, the plushie was something I didn't get to keep, but I could choose out a console. Now, what were the consoles I could choose out between? They were the PlayStation 3, I already had that. Xbox 360, we already had that. The Wii U, we didn't have that, but it was out of stock. Many people already got one, so I couldn't pick that. PS Vita. 3DS wasn't on the list for whatever reason, but the PlayStation Vita. So I took, I got a PlayStation Vita, and well, the first impressions weren't all that good. I had a PlayStation Vita, opened it, was very nice, very shiny. Um, then my brother said, "Oh, you need a memory card, and you need a game." I mean, of course you need a game, but it was more expensive than I anticipated. I took my savings, my savings, my money, to the store and need to buy a memory card. Those things are expensive, and then I could only buy one game. In my head, I had the I was thinking about, oh, I buy 2 games, I got the money for that, but no, the memory card was too expensive to buy more than one game. I bought Wipeout 2049, 2044, some year. I made the game. Also, always been a fan of Wipeout, so playing that to death, really. But from all these stories, you would know that my brother is quite a PlayStation fan, so he would play with his too. And one time I came back from school, and he got the news. I accidentally deleted all your saves. I was quite mad, to say it lightly. But I got over it fairly quickly. I was like, okay, I don't need it anymore. You can have it for 150 euros. So I sold my PlayStation Vita to my brother for 150 euros. And after that, I never really played on it. And I don't believe my brother really played on it after that too. He had bought some other games. Metal Gear Solid he bought on it. Sure, that was only a demo, I believe. And some other games, but I didn't really saw him play it that much. Enough about that. Enough about that. And yeah, then we were looking at the future. Well, just a little bit of history. The Switch is the path to the Switch is something I experienced it fully. I was much on the internet than in 2015. So I told about 90 NX. Quite soon after that, the Wii U was released. Now that I think about it, 2015. And what could it be? Roombas went circling around. Zelda was announced. 2016, no news. Well, 2016 at the end of the year came the trailer. Positive reactions also from me. The name was something to get used to, but I liked that they went back to the wet marketing, and it took a year before I bought one, but I saw all the games of it, and in 2018, in the summer of 2018, I bought a Switch for myself with what for games, you would guess. No, not Zelda, because I played Zelda on Wii U. I, I bought Doom 2016 and um, Crash Insane Trilogy shortly after that, and I believe Mario Kart 8. Those were the first games I had. Yeah, not the most normal, most basic launch lineup. First games to buy for the Switch, but I did it that way. Enjoyed it thoroughly. I still enjoy it now. Animal Crossing a couple of months ago. Now I don't play it much. I will be waiting on next games. Played it with a lot of friends. Yeah, the Switch is really a console that really marks the beginning of adult life, I think, because it was released in 2017. I was 17, but I got it when I was 18. So it has been the adults side of my life, the Switch was beginning. But think about it, it was really a do or die moment for Nintendo, because after the fail of the Wii U, they couldn't fail again. It was quite clear that they couldn't fail again. Maybe on the financial side they could fail again, because uh, Nintendo has quite a war chest of money to spend, but for the general perception of the consumer, I don't think it was possible for this. Um, I don't think Nintendo could have handled another failure, because nobody would trust them anymore. There would be zero excitement for the next system. So yeah, I think that it was a do or die moment for the Switch, for Nintendo, and if Switch didn't succeed, they would be in a dire situation. As we all know, the Switch did succeed, many people love it, and so the perception of Nintendo has swung around quite a bit. Now, we are at the dawn of a new generation, you could say, with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. PlayStation had a game show just a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago, and showed many of the games. I looked at it, and I've never been really a graphics guy. If it comes to graphics, I would say, huh, nice. 5 minutes later, it's the complete normal world for me. So I don't really look at graphics and go like, oh, those graphics are amazing, I need to have it now. No. But the games they did show looked very promising. That Ratchet and Clank are back with a new adventure. It's very nice to see. Horizon 2, the other new IP, Astrobot, as a pre-installed game. Very cute choice. But the design, the design is still a very fresh topic. To be quite frankly, when they unveiled the controller design, I didn't really like it either. Now I'm used to it, and I think, okay, it's fine. But the console itself is an abomination. One thing to fix it is to make it symmetrical. If you had in the middle it white and then just flat white sides, a bit like now, but flat, it would be great. It would be fine. But with the weird curves and with the little stand that you have to lay your PS5 on to have it horizontally, it just looks awkward. It looks like a fan mockup. It looks like what um, it looks like what a child or a company feels like. What the future looks like. Future tech looks like this with curves and other types of stuff. So no, I don't really like the look of it. I don't know if I will get used to it, like with a controller. It looks like a Seto Kaiba console, Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! Xbox Series X, on the other hand, is very safe, very safe on the design. Um, Nothing really wrong with it. Maybe a little bit boring, but that is nitpicky. Yeah, Xbox didn't really show anything that was very interesting for me, to be honest. But at the same time, they haven't showed their first-party games yet. At the same time, I have Xbox Game Pass for PC, so I play the Xbox games via that, in that way. So I don't need an Xbox Series X. And that's a little bit where I stand on the upcoming generation. I don't need a PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. I don't need them. I have a computer with a RTX graphic card in it. I don't need it. Sure, I miss the first party games from Sony, first party games from Xbox. But fine, I will watch them. I will watch them on Twitch, I will watch them on YouTube, and experience it via that way. When I'm lucky, something like Horizon will launch on PC. Well, the first party Xbox games can't be played on PC, so that's not something I have to miss. It's mainly the Sony games that I will miss. And I have managed to do that with the PlayStation 3 too, PlayStation 4 too, so I don't see why I can't miss it now. That doesn't mean I'm not invested in the news cycle, because I love the news cycle, I love sales numbers, and little trivia about consoles, about gaming, so I will clearly follow it and see how the sales develop, really. I'm quite interested in that. What uh, what console will sell the most? If I have to take a prediction about that now, PlayStation has quite a goodwill. It's big in Europe, quite big in the US, and big in Japan. Xbox doesn't really exist in Europe. Yeah, in the UK and maybe in the other big countries, but here I don't know anyone that has an Xbox. And it's a little bit weird to see someone have an Xbox instead of a PlayStation. So I don't see that really changing. And in Japan, Xbox is quite non-existent. They sell 20 consoles a week. Well, PlayStation 4 is now selling around 1,000 a week, which is selling around 40,000 a week. So, and that has been going on since launch of the Xbox One there. So, I don't see them changing that too. I think Xbox is the biggest in the US. Can they win the US? Maybe. Maybe if the first party, the purchases of studios really come to fruition, they can, and they make good games. I really think they can take market share from Sony in the US, but maybe also in Europe and maybe also in Japan. I think the race will be closer from what I've seen now, barring major slip-ups with price or something or other issues. I think the race will be closer between the two because the Xbox One really fucked up its launch, and since then it wasn't really something that they could get back from. But maybe now they can be close to each other. But I think the overall popularity of the PlayStation brand will make the PlayStation 5 sell more than the Xbox Series X. I think I will keep it. I will leave it at that. This was my little talking about consoles, my experiences with them, what I think about the future a little bit. If you enjoyed, leave it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I see you next time on a new video on this channel.